Hello again, everybody, and welcome to the Wednesday edition of 4-Star Chicago Sports. This is the Barely There podcast. How's everyone doing on this snowbound Wednesday in Chicago?
Happy I don't have to shovel 900 inches like they said we were going to get. I can still see my grass.
Yeah, I can still see my grass too a little bit. I think they said it's going to snow till like 3 a.m., but the way it's falling looks like maybe 3 inches or something like that. It don't look terrible at all.
Yeah.
So, how you doing, Kyle?
Doing good, man. Just ready to talk about some defensive ends for the Bears.
Well, we do have some defensive ends to talk about, but before we get into that, I just wanted to bring up one thing really fast. Kyle, I kind of told you about it yesterday. Just, I always like to do these stupid nuggets and tidbits that I just think are cool. And Devonta Smith is a special dude, man. He joined an exclusive football club with his victory. The fourth-year pro became the fifth player to win a Super Bowl, a collegiate football national championship, and a Heisman Trophy during his career. Kyle's nugget, which I missed somehow, I don't know how, was that he's caught a touchdown in every championship game he's also been a part of. But by any chance, Kyle, and you're disqualified. Jay, do you know by any chance any of the other guys? they're old school.
Marshall Faulk.
No. I'll give them to you. It was Reggie Bush, which was off the list, but he did get his Heisman returned to him. Tony Dorsett in 76 with Pitt. He won the Heisman. They won a national championship. He won Super Bowl 13. You have that stupid Packer, Charles Woodson, who won the Heisman and the national championship in 97 and Super Bowl 45. And then you got Marcus Allen in 81. Sorry.
Pretty good company.
Yeah, and Devonta Smith. Hey, Kyle, I actually did get this. So Devonta Smith has now scored a touchdown in the following games: the Super Bowl, National Championship, SEC Championship, Rose Bowl game, Orange Bowl game, and the Iron Bowl game. In his trophy cabinet right now, he has a Super Bowl title, 2 national championships, an offensive MVP for the national champion, a Heisman, the Maxwell Award, the Walter Camp Award, the Fred Biletnikoff Award, the AP Football College Player of the Year, the Sporting News College Football Player of the Year, the SEC Male Athlete of the Year, and the SEC Offensive Player of the Year. This dude is at 26 years old. Does he have anything left to accomplish?
Did he score 4 touchdowns for Polk High? I don't think so.
He wasn't that awesome. Well, yeah, that's my little nugget for the day, and we can get into these other defensive ends if we'd like.
I do think he is quietly and slowly becoming the wide receiver 1 for the Eagles there.
I agree. He's
with A.J. Brown on the other side, that's no small achievement,
No, not at all. I mean, A.J. Brown was 2 years removed from a 1,600-yard season. I mean,
yeah, it's pretty
A.J.
crazy.
Brown's a stud, dude, and Devonta Smith seems to be more readily available when Jalen Hurts is in trouble. So I think Devonta Smith's going to end up being their number 1 there next year. Devonta Smith's probably going to sneak into the top 3 rounds of fantasy drafts next year.
Did they draft him?
Yeah. The Eagles only draft winners, man. And that's an interesting nugget that we can get started off here, man, because we're looking for free agent help. And I know Kyle did some research on free agents, and teams do use free agents. But 8 of the 22 starters for the Eagles in the Super Bowl were acquired via free agents or trade, all within the last 3 years. Drafting and developing is still number 1 in the NFL because if you look at the majority of the starters, the entire defensive line for the Philadelphia Eagles and their entire secondary was drafted. It was the number 1 secondary and the top offensive line. As we go into this, the GM's job description, and it should be to build a sustainable, deep, competitive roster within the legal financial constraints. In my perspective, and you guys can disagree with me if you'd like, I'm all down for it, but draft number 1, free agents number 2, and building sustainable contracts that don't kill you. And I think the blueprint has been laid out by one guy who's not scared to take swings, Howie Roseman. And he did this, in 2022 when he made this trade and he actually acquired A.J. Brown. They already had drafted the 13th overall pick, which was Jordan Davis at the time. So he traded the 18th pick. So his 2022 first round was Jordan Davis and A.J. Brown. Essentially, he gave up a third round pick. So it can work, but for me, that was a luxury because they had 2 first round picks, so they had that to blow. I don't know how you guys feel about this, but yeah,
wasn't it a 4th round pick? It was a 1st and a 4th, right?
It was 101st. So whatever the 101st pick was, is that the 4th round? I thought it was the 3rd round, but I could be wrong. I could be wrong.
That would be early 4th round. Yeah.
Early 4th round. So yeah, I mean, I really like building this, through. I'm a build it through the draft kind of guy, and I know Kyle is, and Jay. I don't know where you stand. What's your?
You have to build through the draft, number one, because it's the cheapest way to build a team, number one, and these players are not cheap. You can't do it all through the draft. You really kind of have to do, a combination of the two, and really 3 things. You're gonna have to draft guys. That's step 1. You're gonna have to develop those guys. That's step 2. You can't just draft them and then hope they're gonna be good. You gotta coach them, and then maybe pick up a few key pieces here or there. I remember one free agency pick that the Bears had the past regime. Akeem Hicks. That guy had a couple of great years with the Bears, and I love the dude. Huge 3 technique, just monster in the middle. Wasn't that great before we found him, but he wound up doing really good for the Bears. So, unfortunately, the injuries started happening. But, I think you got to do everything. And that's what all the great teams do. I think what's most impressive about Philly is not that they're just drafting well. Dude, when's the last time they had a top 10 draft pick? They're making the playoffs every year. They're making it, they got to be in the bottom third of the draft every single year. And they're picking up these guys just sitting and waiting.
Well, here you go. Devonta Smith. I can't see because of this thing. It looks like I can't see because of that top thing, but they got 13th, 22nd, 30th. So they did have the 4th round pick when they took Lane Johnson back in, when was that? 2013. That's a while ago.
Yeah.
Then the 9th, the 37th, 40th, 49th, 51st, 53rd, 73rd, 83rd, 94th. I mean, dude, these guys are just rock solid drafters, man. This organization, they set themselves up for long-term success. So, it's unbelievable. Honestly, and I'm kind of jealous, and I'm hoping that the Chicago Bears are watching this and saying, hey, man, this is what we want to do. But you guys all remember Ryan Poles said when he got here, we're going to build through the draft. So I still think that's his plan. I don't think that he's going to be – I personally don't think he's making a big splash for Max Crosby, Myles Garrett, Trey Hendrickson. I personally don't think so. I think he wants to build through the draft and be sustainable. I could be absolutely wrong because I don't know shit. But that's my personal feeling. What do you guys feel about that? Getting through there.
Well, first and foremost, what's up, Breaking News, Bruce? What's up, Daniel? Appreciate you guys joining us, man. Please hit the like button.
Subscribe.
Please share this with your friends if you guys enjoy watching us, man. We appreciate you guys. But I mean, Sean, you know where I stand. I've said this 700 times on the show.
Mm-hmm.
Draft and develop and revolving door of young talent. Now, even when it comes to free agency, you can be really, really smart as a GM in the NFL and free agency. I mean, look at TJ Edwards. I mean, that guy is costing us almost nothing. I think his contract was 3 years, $18 million. And he was top 10 in tackles in the NFL his first year on the Chicago Bears. So, I mean, you can find hidden gems in free agency, guys who are kind of up and coming. And
TJ was a free agent, though.
Yeah, and he was drafted by the Eagles. Another great player drafted by the Eagles. The Eagles let him go because they can't pay everybody, and the Bears took advantage of it. And keep an eye on
Actually, guys, he's undrafted out of Wisconsin,
but still by the Eagles. Right? So, but I mean, keep an eye on the Eagles and Chiefs in particular too, because a lot of those guys who are playing there were drafted by Ian Cunningham and Ryan Poles, who are now the current active GM and assistant GM for the Chicago Bears. But yeah, I mean, guys, ultimately, like
Jason, 3rd round pick and lose Ian Cunningham.
Like Jason said, you want your team to be as cheap as possible, excluding those premium positions. So you obviously at some point you want to pay at least one good receiver, like the Packers did all those successful years with Devontae Adams. Obviously, you got to pay your quarterback, like they did with Aaron Rodgers. And then you would like to make sure that your left tackle and center are here for at least a substantial amount of time, at least long enough to the point where Caleb Williams is comfortable in the NFL. You want him to have the same left tackle and center for at least the next 3 or 4 years. And I think that's what the Bears are probably planning on doing. I mean, like I said, we've talked about this on the show, guys. Braxton Jones isn't the worst tackle in football, but you'd like to see him upgrade that position at some point, considering that Caleb Williams is a right-handed quarterback and the left tackle is his blind side. But yeah, I mean, I agree with both of you guys, man. I mean, draft and develop. The problem with the Bears is they haven't hit on all their draft picks, and particularly in the 3rd round, which are guys who should be contributing to your team from day one, if not starters, rotational players. The Bears have to shore up this drafting process. Hopefully Ben Johnson has a lot to say about who they're going to pick this year. And the Bears need to stop, for our entire lives, right, guys? It seems like the Chicago Bears are always trying to get cute, always take Shea McClellan, these guys you've never heard of before. You're like, dude, who is this guy? And you're like Wikipediaing his name. Just go with a guy who everybody in the world projects to be a top 10, 15 talent. And if that's your guy and you want him, go get him. And you know what? Even if the Bears are deciding they want a guy at 10 who's projected to go at 12 or 13, you don't have to trade back, man. If you want your guy, go get your guy. Look, if Jared Verse went at 15? If he would have been drafted at 5, that team would have been laughed at, and then he would have been defensive rookie of the year, and they would have been laughing at everybody else. If you want your guy, go get your guy.
And that's a perfect segue into edge rushers, because the Bears have signed Dennis Allen, obviously, as their new defensive coordinator. He runs a 4-3 base defense. He uses a lot of sub packages and incorporates a variety of players into his schemes. Allen's goal, per his press conference, was he wants to turn the Bears defense into an aggressive, attacking, physical defense. He wants the Bears to take the fight and the offense. He wants to take the fight to the offense and not let the offense dictate the tempo. That's exactly what he said in his presser. The explanation of his defense is he runs a base 4-3 scheme. With the sub packages, he uses a lot of exotic fronts, like some dime fronts and simulated pressures. He uses a variety of players in different roles rather than having a lot of different formations. So when you're looking at these edge rushers, or he's looking at these edge rushers, he's probably looking for versatile players that are going to be able to perform more than just putting their hand in the dirt and attacking the quarterback. He might be looking for a guy that can be like Myles Garrett, who can slip in, play on the line, play on the edge. I think that's what he's going to be looking for in this draft. And I think we have a few of these guys in this draft that match that mold. So I want one of you.
They already have one of those guys on their team, and Montez Sweat. Man, Montez Sweat is a guy who's, by all accounts, he's a defensive end who's plays well against the run. He attacks the quarterback. He's up at the top to quarterback pressures, sacks. He's up at the top of tackles for loss. I mean, that's the kind of guy. And the same as Kyler Gordon, right? Kyler Gordon can be kind of one of those hybrid nickel corners who can blitz the quarterback, can drop back and play almost like a hybrid safety position. Like, he's already got some of those guys here. And I think that holds true, Sean. I'm glad you brought that up, because I think that's why Chase Young had such a poor year in New Orleans there. He's a go get the quarterback kind of guy. He really doesn't do much else. And he had one of his worst seasons in his career in New Orleans because he doesn't fit Dennis Allen's scheme.
Yeah. And you know what? Who wants to go off? Jared Verse, Tracks. He was such a game wrecker. He was a game changer. He did so many different things that just don't show up on the stat sheet.
He's also a rookie.
He's also a rookie. He's got a very, very bright future, man.
He had a pretty good playoff too.
Yeah, he had a really good playoff.
Did that play where he the dive? What game was that, Sean? That dive.
Oh, that was
that was one of my favorite plays of the year, dude.
He belly flopped on him, yeah.
Yeah, that was awesome. I can't remember who that was.
I think it was the Eagles, but I don't remember.
No, I think it was the Eagles too. That was an awesome play. I remember watching that.
I love Jared Verse, man.
Well, I'll tell you this. I'll get us started, and everybody knows that Abdul Carter is the alpha male at the end in this draft, and
we have no shot at him.
Yeah, there's a couple of special guys that some other people are saying, but I'm going to tell you, I'm going to start off.
Sean, do you want to talk about the trades first real quick? Because I don't think we're going to spend a lot of time on them, right?
Yeah, go ahead. You want to talk about the trades first?
Yeah, so obviously, guys, we know that the Bears have plenty of holes in this upcoming free agency class and draft. So they have to address the offensive line. They need to probably draft another defensive tackle, another defensive end. They're looking for a running back. They're probably looking for a third-string receiver. They're probably going to have to draft another safety or add another safety in free agency due to Jaquan Brisker's health or lack thereof. So there's been 1,000 different things that have been discussed on social media already. People, as soon as people hear things like, oh, Myles Garrett wants out of Cleveland, of course, the Chicago Bears are always one of those teams that comes up. But just because the Bears have a need at defensive end, their name has been mentioned a lot when it comes to guys like Micah Parsons, Myles Garrett, Trey Hendrickson, Max Crosby. So first and foremost, from what I read a lot about Max Crosby, it sounds like the Raiders do not want to get rid of him. Now, obviously, you guys, that could change, or maybe they're just saying that because they don't want to piss the player they have under contract, but piss off the player under contract. But I don't think, to me personally, guys, I don't think he's leaving Oakland or Las Vegas. I think that team likes him a lot. I think he's on a relatively cheap deal. Wouldn't make much sense to get rid of a guy you're not paying that much to get. What he's gotten double-digit sacks in the last 4 years in a row now. He's also something, a little tidbit about Max Crosby most people don't know. He, in the last, I think, 3 years straight, has played the most snaps of any defensive end in the NFL per year. So he basically never comes off the field for the Las Vegas Raiders. And guys like that are tough to find. But, you guys, the biggest fish in free or via trade we'll talk about is Myles Garrett. I'll go over his numbers, you guys, and then you guys to tell me what you think about the Bears possibly trading for him. So I think we've all established that we're all against trading a lot of draft capital for a really good player, even though guys like Myles Garrett is a perennial Hall of Famer. He's an amazing player. He's probably the best player on defense in the NFL. But if you have to go 4 or 5 picks, you need those 3, 4, 5 guys to be drafted and be good players and be here for a long time so you can fill all those holes. But if they are going to trade for a guy, Myles Garrett would probably be the guy, because this guy has a 92.3 Pro Football Focus rating in 2024. That's second amongst all defensive ends. He had 83 pressures on the quarterback in 2024. That was first by a long shot. He was 79 Pro Football Focus score against the run, which is 11th out of all defensive ends, which means Myles Garrett does not only attack the quarterback, he plays the run very well as well. He had 3 forced fumbles, 14 sacks last year, 13 QB hits, and 56 QB hurries. 56 QB hurries was second in the NFL. So, this guy is, 13 QB hits was 8th, 14 sacks was 3rd. He is top 10 in almost every statistical category for defensive ends.
He's a stud.
His sack number since 2017 are 7, 13.5, 10, 12, 16, 16, 14, 14 for a grand total of 102.5 sacks. He had, as forced fumbles numbers are 1, 3, 2, 4, 1, 2, 4, 3, which means he has 20 forced fumbles since coming into the NFL. So the guy creates turnovers as well. He also recovered a lot of those fumbles, by the way. And in 2025, he is owed $19.7 million. In 2026, he was owed $20.4 million, and he is currently 29 years old. So you guys, what I'm thinking is if Myles Garrett was actually traded away from the Browns, they're saying 2 firsts. My guess is they would settle for a 1st and 2nd this year, and probably like a 2nd and 5th next year. So what do you guys think about that? How do you feel about the Bears trading for Myles Garrett?
I do not. I'm out. I've said it a few times.
Because it's just too much draft capital? Is that what you're...
It's too much draft capital.
You have to re-sign him again, too. Like, he's not going to want to just play for us for 2 years. I don't even think he wants to come to the Bears anyways. I think he wants to go to a Super Bowl contender. But
Jay, I don't know if he'll sign an extension. From what I've heard, he wants to test free agency at 31 years old when he's available after the 2026 season. He wants to see what he could get out there. But I don't know. It's all speculation.
I'm not a big fan of aging players in the NFL, and I understand who he is, what he does. I get it. I'm not an idiot. I understand he's a generational talent. He's a future Hall of Famer. And if he was Micah Parsons' age, I'd say let's do it. But unfortunately, he's not. He's aging players get hurt. It's a simple fact. So
you wish he was more of a free agent than a trade, because you might be able to then sign him for 2 or 3 years. Okay, great. You get a guy till he's 32 or whatever, 33. Awesome. But, just knowing you're going to have to pay him. He's pretty cheap right now, but he's not going to get cheaper, And another thing, trade a guy for 2 years.
Another thing for the Bears fans to keep in mind is they are already currently, Montez Sweat is their 2nd highest paid player on the team. So they're already dedicating a ton of money to the defensive end position. How much can you possibly dedicate to one position on your team and still have success elsewhere? So the second guy that people have talked about a lot, guys, and it sounds like Trey Hendrickson is probably going to be traded out of Cincinnati. We all know they have to extend Jamar Chase at some point this offseason. They still have to decide whether or not going to sign T. Higgins. I think right now the Bengals' best bet to make the playoffs or even dare we say, Super Bowl would be to outscore people, because they're certainly probably not going to fix this defense in one offseason unless Vic Fangio wants to leave the Eagles and go to Cincinnati. I just don't see it happening.
Well,
I mean, I'm not saying
last year didn't work out.
I'm not saying they can't have a great draft like the Eagles did and turn their secondary around in the snap of a finger by getting two guys like Mitchell and DeJean, but it's tough to do, man. Obviously we've talked about this before. Howie Roseman really misses, and I don't know the Bengals GM name, but he's not Howie Roseman.
Yeah.
They've had problems with their defense there for a long time. But just to go over Trey Hendrickson real quick, he is 30 years old. He had an 88.1 Pro Football Focus score in 2024. That was 8th amongst all defensive ends. He had 83 pressures in 2024, which is ranked 1st of all defensive ends in the NFL. He had a 65.9 Pro Football Focus score against the run, which is 67th out of 211. So he is not known for playing well against the run, guys. That's something that we know that the Bears have always focused on. Everybody on the field has to be able to play the run. That's why they went and got a guy like Montez Sweat. I think that might be something right there, excluding the 30 years of age, that would kind of they'd shy away from. He had 2 forced fumbles, which was 18 sacks, which was 1st. He had 16 quarterback hits, 4th. 49 QB hurries, which was 4th. So once again, another guy who was almost in top 10 in almost every statistical category for defensive ends, except, like we just said, not very good against the run. His sack numbers since coming in the league in 2017, he has 77 sacks. So he's certainly no scrub. It did take him a while to get going there. His first 3 seasons in the NFL, 2 sacks, 0 sacks, 4.5 sacks. So it did take him a while.
Last 3 have been really good, though.
Yeah, and he was a late draft pick, so maybe that was part of the reason he fell to the 4th round, is because they were like, he's a developmental player, and it took him those 3 years to get up to NFL speed. And then the forced fumble numbers since 2017, he has forced 14 fumbles, so nowhere near as good as a guy like Myles Garrett, but does create turnovers from time to time. And he is owed $15.8 million in 2025. So relatively cheap for a guy who led the NFL in sacks last year. So, but I mean, I'm not even going to ask you guys how you feel about Trey, because first of all, he has less than 2 years left on his deal. So he would be a 1-year rental, and he will be 31 years old by the time the season starts. So probably you guys are thinking the same thing you were thinking about Myles Garrett, right? So, Sean, the one that sounds like he's most realistic to you would be Micah Parsons. And this is something that is also probably realistic, because I don't think the Cowboys could pay this guy. I just don't, guys. They right now,
I don't know if he wants to play there.
They have the highest paid quarterback in the NFL annually. They have the highest paid receiver in the NFL annually. I don't think they can have 3 positions on their team that are highest paid in the NFL. And Micah Parsons is going to be the highest paid linebacker / defensive end in the NFL. And that's another thing about Micah Parsons, guys. He is technically a linebacker who's like a hybrid linebacker defensive end. So
he can set the edge, though, which is important. If you're going to get money before, sorry, what?
Dallas doesn't have any money. They're $2.3 million.
That's what I'm saying, Sean. I just don't think they could, even if they wanted to re-sign Micah Parsons. Remember, guys, they didn't sign him to extension. He's playing on the 5th-year option because he was a first-round pick. If they didn't have that 5th-year option, Myles Garrett would have been gone already. Or, I mean, Micah Parsons would have been gone already. But I'll go over his numbers real quick, guys. So, as we all know, he did miss a few games in 2024. So, when we dig into the numbers here, keep that in mind. I think he only played 14 games last year out of a possible 17. He had a 90.0 Pro Football Focus score in 2024. That was 6th amongst defensive ends. He had 70 pressures in 2024. That was 5th amongst defensive ends. And remember, guys, and linebacker / defensive end. Remember, guys, he did not play every game last year. And this guy had 70 pressures and ranked 5th in the NFL. He had a 65.5 Pro Football Focus score against the run. That was 72nd out of all defensive ends / linebackers. That is not very good either, guys. So if you bring a guy like Micah Parsons here, you're bringing him here to attack the quarterback. He's not going to play the run. He's not going to get up in the middle of the line of scrimmage and try to stop the run. He's just not that guy. He is a stand-up defensive end, linebacker playing the defensive end.
What up, Broski?
Broski, I love you, man. Welcome to the chat, bro.
He had 2 forced fumbles in 2024 with rank 8, 14 sacks, 3rd, 12 QB hits, 13th, and 44 QB hurries, which ranked 10th. His sack numbers since 2021 are 13, 13.5, 14, and 12. So he's never had a season without double-digit sacks, for a grand total of 52.5 sacks in 4 years. He has 9 forced fumbles since coming to the NFL in 2021. So this guy really creates turnovers and really gets after the quarterback. He's going to finish as one of the top all time in those numbers if he continues to do what he's doing. And in 2025, he will be a salary cap hit of $24 million. So basically what happens, guys, is if you pick up that 5th-year option, it's basically like signing a franchise tag. He's going to get top dollar value for the position.
I would be okay with it would. I don't know. it's going to cost too much, and it could set the Bears back too far. I love the idea of Parsons here. I just don't love the idea of what we'd have to give up to get him.
You have like $250 million between two edge rushers on your defensive line. Like,
that's like, I mean, everything about Micah Parsons, pure, absolute stud muffin.
Oh, yeah.
Well, another thing you need to keep in mind when you're trading for one of these guys or considering extending one of these guys is you have to keep in mind when you're going to give Caleb Williams that extension. For me personally, guys, so we all know Caleb Williams is a first-round pick, so he's got a 4-year rookie contract with a 5th-year option. I would like to see them extend Caleb Williams before the 4th year of the rookie contract begins. And that's what the Chiefs did with Patrick Mahomes. And look at it now. Now he's like, what, the 9th highest paid quarterback in the NFL? Like, that guy should be number 1. He's got 3 Super Bowls and he's been to 4. Like, he should be number 1. But that's what these smart teams do. When they sign these guys early to these extensions, they get them at a bargain value. That's basically what happens, because you know that they're going to set that new standard for quarterbacks every single year, every time somebody gets paid. So if you can sign them as early as possible, then you can avoid that 2025, 2026, 2027 expectations of what quarterbacks are paid. And you can get them at like what would be 2025, 2026 deal. But ultimately, guys, that's going to be up to Caleb Williams. I mean, they can start contract negotiations with him, but whether he signs a new contract or not is totally up to him. The Bears have no say in that. But I mean, I'm with you guys. The only one of these guys I would even consider is Micah Parsons, and it would have to be for age. It couldn't be this, because the Cowboys are going to ask for 2 first-round picks, 2 second-round picks, and a 5th-round pick. Yeah, I just don't. I don't think as much as
Gary's
I love Micah Parsons,
not going to be nice about it. He's going to want.
I don't think you can dedicate that much of the future of your team to one player, especially like Jay said. I mean, then you got 2 defensive ends at $70 million a year. That's just, you got to have money to put elsewhere. I mean, you got to pay the secondary, you got to pay the offensive line.
And really quick, Phil, we're going to break down the defensive linemen next week. So
the interior defensive line, we're edges today.
Yeah, we're going to do edges today, but this is, I agree with you, Phil, a very deep defensive line draft, and there are some real gems that you can get probably in the 2nd or 3rd round, a la a Kalijah Cansey that went a little bit later in the draft and makes a big difference on that defensive line in Tampa Bay. So we're definitely going to try week after week to hit every position of need for the Chicago Bears. And this happens to be today, the day that
real quick though, Broski Bear, Phil, Daniel, Breaking News Brews Tracks. Appreciate you guys joining us. Please hit that like button. Please subscribe if you haven't already. Share it with your friends if you guys enjoy watching us. Sean, do you want to jump right into the draft, or do you want to do the free agents real quick?
If you want to do the free agents, I only broke down the draft. I didn't do anything with free agents because I think the Bears might be just looking at the draft more so than
for defensive end,
guys. It depends. If guys like Dahlman and Smith are franchise tagged, and those teams are like, we're not letting these guys go, we're keeping them. The Bears don't have an option but to save all of their draft picks for offensive linemen. There's really not that much available to sign in free agency. The offensive lineman in free agency right now is not spectacular. Now listen, like we've talked about this, guys. You could sign like that Kelly center from the Colts and sign like a bridge player to go into next year. But I mean, the most important thing for the Chicago Bears going forward is protecting Caleb Williams and the development of Caleb Williams. If you want him to get better and you want him to look like a good quarterback in the NFL, at some point you have to build him an adequate offensive line, an above average offensive line. You'd like to see the Bears offensive line ranked at least within the top 15 this year, right, guys? If not 9, 10, 11, somewhere in there, but at least in the top 15. You cannot get him sacked 68 times again. And, obviously, I think we all agree that Ben Johnson's going to focus in on making sure Caleb Williams gets rid of that ball. There's nothing open downfield, because a lot of those sacks he took this year were solely on Caleb Williams. But, I mean, we don't have to spend a bunch of time on it, guys. I'm just going to go over all the top guys in free agency. And like I said, I mean, I know people want to see the Bears draft. I know you want to see young players, this team draft develop, but I would not be surprised at all, guys, if one of these guys is signed as a bridge player for the Chicago Bears. I would not be surprised at all.
And you know what? We probably have to sign a couple offensive line. Like, maybe they're not studs, but there's a lot of guys leaving and there's injuries. We need depth. I mean,
or you might see guys like Krana Magaji start at guard, or Ryan Bates start at guard, or Braxton Jones get moved to guard. You might have to see the Bears get a little bit cute and try to figure out a way to get this offensive line completed without drafting nothing but offensive linemen. You might have to see some of that stuff, but I do expect you guys to see the Bears sign somebody at defensive end in free agency. I'm not saying it has to be a splash name. I think they can still draft a defensive end and sign one in free agency. So while that young guy is learning the speed of the NFL, you have somebody there in the meantime. But I would not be surprised at all if you see them sign one of these guys, the guys on this list. Now, like I said, none of these guys on this list are going to be incredibly expensive. It's not a great free off season for free agent defensive ends. They ranked them. This is not my rankings, guys. I'm just going off of the rankings that were on the website that got this article. But ranked number 1 at 25 years old is Chase Young.
Yeah.
Now, Chase
We already
Young's
established he's not going to fit Dennis Allen's defense.
I mean, but Chase Young is interesting because he played for Dennis Allen, and he was the guy that Bears were talking about going after before they decided to trade for Montez Sweat. So it's not like Ryan Poles hates the guy. I mean, we've heard he came out and admitted that Chase Young was an option for them at one point. Chase Young is 25 years old. His last year, he was one of his worst seasons in the NFL. He has 66.4 Pro Football Focus score. That was 72nd among all defensive ends. So not good at all. He is a 54.6 against the run. Also not good. That's 153rd out of 211 defensive ends. Really not good. The only thing he continues to be good at, guys, is he had 66 pressures, which was ranked 7th amongst defensive ends, and he had 47 QB hurries, which was ranked 5th. So the guy still does get after the quarterback. He didn't complete the task last year very often, though, because he only finished with 5.5 sacks. So even though he was in the quarterback's face a lot, he did not get a lot of sacks last year. His sack numbers since 2020 are 22. But the reason that he has such low sack numbers since getting drafted in the NFL in 2022 is his availability. Guys, here's the most concerning thing about Chase Young. Games played since 2020. 15, 9, 3.
That's what I was going to say.
9, and 17.
Too much of an extensive injury history for me.
Yeah, not good.
I don't want him at all.
So my free agent grade for Chase Young would be a D+. I mean, if you get there, you hope that he stays healthy and you get the best out of him. Maybe he gets you 6 or 7 sacks. One thing I will say about Chase Young, though, is I don't think he's going to be very expensive. You could probably get that guy here on a 1-year, $10 million deal. He just came off of a 1-year, $13 million deal in New Orleans, and he did not have a good year, so I expect that to go down.
My worry is that Cam Jordan's on the other side of that line. He's a pretty good defensive end himself, and he still only generate 5 sacks.
Yeah, but I mean, the team accumulatively, besides Cam Jordan, the Saints have a pretty bad team, man. There was not a lot of talent on that team anywhere, to be honest. And then even the talent they did have, I mean, they lost Taysom Hill, they lost Alvin Kamara for a period of time, they lost Derek Carr, they lost Chris Olave for a big chunk of the season. I mean, that team lost. They lost Rashid Shaheed. He missed a big chunk of this season, 6 or 7 games. The Saints stood no chance last year. And, I think Dennis Allen, once again, was just one of those guys who was just in a bad position and was kind of made scapegoat. But I'm not saying I think Dennis Allen would be a good head coach, but he certainly didn't deserve to be fired for the how that season went in New Orleans. That was just a catastrophe. Here's one that I think you guys should consider. This is one that I think is interesting. Khalil Mack. Okay. You're talking about a 1-year contract for Khalil Mack, probably going to be somewhere around $12-13 million. He's 33 years old. He had a 91 Pro Football Focus score in 2024. That was 5th amongst all defensive ends. He had 49 quarterback pressures, top 25 amongst all defensive ends. He had an 88 Pro Football Focus score against the run. He was the 2nd ranked defensive end in the NFL against the run last year. He had 2 forced fumbles, which was 8th, 7 sacks. I know it was 33rd. That's not great, but that's pretty much what you expect from a 33-year-old, right? A guy who's kind of on his way out downhill.
Unless you're Reggie White.
7, 8, 9 sacks. Yeah, that's what I expect. The thing that does concern me, am I mistaken, or did Khalil Mack have 6 sacks in one game last year? Was that last year?
Oh, I think it
in
was.
23, you mean, or
2024. Didn't he have 6 sacks in one game?
I think he did.
That means he had 1 sack for the rest of the season.
I think he did, actually.
I'm almost positive last year it was that game where he had 6 sacks. I don't remember who they were playing, but I'm almost positive that was 2024. That means he had 1 sack for the rest of the season. That's concerning. But he does still hurry and rush the quarterback. So he was ranked 22nd quarterback hurries. Like I said, he's 33 years old. Don't expect him to be top 10. He does have 107 sacks since 2014. So,
hey Kyle, that was week 4 of the 2023 season against
so
the
that was
Los
2 years
Angeles
ago.
Raiders.
All right, so he did have 7 sacks last year. That's not terrible for a guy who's 33 years old. He has 32 forced fumbles since 2014. So Khalil Mack does get after quarterback, and he does create turnovers. I think if they decided to sign him in free agency, I would give that a C. I'm
okay.
There's another guy here that has showed up as number 4 on the list. This guy I want nothing to do with, guys. Dante Fowler. He's 30 years old. He had a terrible season. He had 11 sacks, but he didn't do anything else well last year.
I kind of agree with Broski. I kind of want to get a little bit younger at the position.
Well, you're talking about
he's
signing
cheap at $13 million, though.
You're talking about signing a bridge player if you can't address defensive end.
If you can't,
you can't just go in the next season with DeMarcus Walker again. You have to put somebody else there if you can't address it at the draft, and you can't address it with somebody good in free agency. You got to put somebody over there like a Chase Young or a Khalil Mack, somebody who can just fill the spot for 1 year. Hassan Reddick is another guy on this list.
Your brother
He had an absolutely abysmal season in 2024, guys. He was ranked 53.5 by Pro Football Focus, which was ranked 163rd. Now, I know what you guys are going to say. Only played 10 games because of the holdout. No, they're grading him off of the 10 games that he played, not the holdout. So he was ranked 163rd out of 211 defensive ends last year. That is not good. His sack numbers since coming in the league in 2017 are 59. So realistically, he's overrated in general. He's not near the top of those guys who were drafted in 2017. I think if the Bears sign him in free agency, I'd give him a C. And the only reason I would do that is because I think Hassan Reddick's going to be really cheap. I think he's going to be very cheap.
He's also a problem player. I don't know if Poles is even looking at him.
Here's the guy that I believe, and I think Sean agrees with me. I don't know if I've heard you talk about it much, Jay. We've been talking about this guy for the last month and a half on this podcast. Josh Sweat is going to be a free agent in 2025. He is 27 years old, so certainly not young, but not on the downhill. He's probably would be considered in his prime right now, right? I think those NFL prime ages are about 25 to 30, somewhere in between there.
Hey, Sean, you have that graphic for the cap again? How much room does Philly have? Because they got to sign a lot of dudes.
Philly has some money.
Yeah,
I think they have $25 million.
Yeah, Philly's good at spending money, man. They're never at the bottom and available cap space.
They're right in the middle of the league, I think.
They're always in the middle, and they should be because they have a lot of really good players. So
they're right there, $24 million, just under 25.
Yeah, they could certainly afford to sign Josh Sweat if they decide that. But Sean and I saw a mock draft yesterday, and they had Philly taking a defensive end. So the guys who are doing these mock drafts already think that they're going to let Josh Sweat walk in free agency, just like they did Hassan Reddick. I think that they're probably going to end up letting Josh Sweat walk unless they franchise tag him. But
and Bryce Huff.
Real quick, I want to go over his numbers just because I think this guy is probably the most realistic for the Bears this offseason. He's 27 years old. He had a Pro Football Focus score of 75.7 in 2024. That's 28th out of 211. So, Sean, like you made a point on Monday, I don't think he's going to get top dollar defensive end money this offseason. I know Dustin disagreed with you. I don't think he's a $25 million a year player. I think he's probably a $16, $17 million a year
probably
player.
right in there.
He had 54 quarterback.
So he's coming off a $10 million contract. I think you could probably get him at 15, a $5 million raise.
Yeah, but there's one thing you got to keep in consider. One thing you got to consider when you're talking about that. He played in a limited role last year, guys, and he's still finished as one of the best pass rushers in the NFL. He had 54 quarterback pressures last year, like 21st. But like we said, in a limited role, that 21st isn't bad. Out of 211 for a guy who wasn't on the field for every single play, not bad at all. He was 69.3 against the run, which is ranked 48th. So not the best in the NFL against the run, but also not the worst. Certainly better than some of the other guys on this list. He had 0 forced fumbles. And since coming in the NFL in 2018, guys, he is not a forced fumble guy. I mean, this guy is a defensive end who gets after the quarterback. He's had 3 separate seasons with 0 forced fumbles. So he's not going to get you the ball a lot. But if you're looking for pure pass rush, he had 8 sacks in 2024, which was ranked 26th in the NFL, and 9 quarterback hits in 2024, which is ranked 24th. So, and then obviously, I don't think we need to talk about the Super Bowl, do we, guys? I mean, this guy obviously shows up when it matters most. He had, to me personally, guys, he should have been an MVP of the Super Bowl. It's not the 2.5 sacks that were most impressive to me, or chasing Patrick Mahomes down before he got that first down early in the third quarter. The most impressive play to me was when he just muscled that tackle back into Patrick Mahomes, which is what caused the interception by Barnes.
Yeah.
I mean, I know that play doesn't show up on the stat sheet, but man, was that important for the Philadelphia Eagles in that game. His free agency grade for me, guys, would be a B. And the only reason I'd give him a B is because we don't know what he would do as a full-time player, and he's not amazing against the run. So that's the only reason I would drop that down to a B. But you talked about in terms of age, in terms of money, and in terms of need, I think Josh Sweat fits the Bears' needs perfectly. I think he would be your top.
I would consider him at the right price as well. At the right price. If Dustin would be right and he's asking for $20 million, I'm bouncing. No, thank you. He's not worth $20 million to me. 15 for me, based on the things that he does, is a stretch in itself, personally.
Yeah, I know what all these guys offer different things, right? Like if you sign Khalil Mack or Chase Young, that's a 1 year fix it quick until we could draft somebody deal, right? You sign Josh Sweat, you're signing him to be the defensive end of the future for the next 3 or 4 years. Right? If you're signing Josh Sweat, you're signing him to be here for a long time. He's going to be one of your defensive ends here for 3 or 4 years. So
yeah, I was going to say you're probably giving him a 4 or 5 year deal, depending.
Yeah, I mean that's what he's going to be asking for because he's still young and he's a good player in the NFL. So he's going to be asking for a 3 or 4 year contract, no doubt about it. And then some of the other name guys, notable guys in free agency guys, I wouldn't consider if I were the Bears, guys who all had really bad seasons by their standards. Baron Browning, Dio Adebingo, I don't even know how to say his last name, Matthew Judon, and Aziz Ojulari, the guy from
Judon I would consider with this coaching staff.
Cheap.
I still think he's cheap. I still think he's got some good ball left in him. So.
Sean, his Pro Football Focus score in 2024 was 43, the lowest of
who
anybody.
Who did he get traded to? I can't remember.
Falcons. The lowest Pro Football Focus score of anybody on the list. Any of the guys we just talked about. He had 53.6 against the run, also one of the lowest of anybody on this list. And he finished the season with 6 sacks. So, yeah, Matthew Judon had a really bad season. But I agree with you, Sean. I think there might be something left in the tank there. I think he probably just didn't fit their system very well.
Right. I was going to say the right scheme could turn
because,
him around.
Dude, you guys, before he left the Patriots, he was phenomenal. He was one of those guys where you're watching the Patriots game and you hear his name on almost every single play.
And I do want to say really quick before we flip the script here to our Twitter community, if you guys like what you hear, please 4-Star Chicago Sports on YouTube, hit us up, smash that like and subscribe button, be greatly appreciated. And we're going to get into some of these young kids that are coming up in the draft. And one of my favorite guys, and I'm going to let you guys talk after I give a quick breakdown. One of my favorite guys, and I would be okay with him at 10, would be James Pearce out of Tennessee. James Pearce right now is the 9th overall prospect, ranked number 3, 32 college games. He had 987 college snaps. As you're watching 50 seconds of him, his tape is just electric. He had 107 pressures, 3 forced fumbles, and 28 tackles for loss in the last 2 seasons. He's a 23% pass win rate this past season. Is one of the highest in college football. I believe it was the highest in college football. He has a 22.4 pass win rate in the last 2 years. You just don't see guys at 6'5", 250 pounds move the way that this guy does. The one misconception, and if you look on all of his cons when you go through all these different things, is he is not as good against the run, and he needs to develop that. But he improved himself as a great run defender from 23 to 24, and now he's a complete game wrecker. He's athletic. He's a quick accelerator off the edge. He's a game changer, man. This guy is a game changer. He's elite. His comp is Brian Burns, and I just wanted to throw this up there just so you guys can know, because the biggest difference, they put this out there between him and let me get this off so everyone can see it really quick. You can see the run rates here. His run defense is 84.2. If you go down, Abdul Carter 78.2. Then you have run stop rate 7.6 for Abdul Carter, 10.1 for James Pearce this past year. So he has really, really changed and developed himself into a run stopper. Here's his numbers from his freshman year, junior, and senior year. He's improved every year. Slight tick back in the overall from 23 to 24, but this guy is impressive. I think he could be a game wrecker off the edge and a guy myself, I would seriously consider at 10. What do you guys think if the Bears set their number 10 pick on James Pearce?
I think I know we're talking defensive ends, but you really kind of hope and pray that Banks is available for the Bears there at 10. But I mean, I guess if you think you have a blue chip player at 10, I don't really care who it is. You know what I mean? Honestly, I think I said the last episode last week, I would be fine with the Bears just trading down, getting a lower first round pick, and maybe picking up an edge there, maybe getting a second round pick, and now we got 3 2s that we can really focus on getting, offensive and defensive linemen. But I think it's such a deep defensive end draft that I think unless you're getting that blue chip player, at 10, I don't know. There's probably going to be 2 or 3 edge rushers that go before the Bears even pick, to be honest with
you. And I want to ask Broski Bear really quick. What left tackle, and I'm not sure the DNs would be any different, but what left tackle jumps out to you that is jump off the board, must have at 10, that is like, okay, I'll take that guy over this guy? Because when you look at positions, you go quarterback, left tackle, DN, your 3 highest paid positions on a football team. So you kind of want to hopefully draft one of those guys onto your roster so you have them on that rookie contract for a number of years. So I'm just asking, Broski, because I'm not personally, I like a couple of them, but I'm not like, oh my God, I got to have that left tackle at 10. That's just me. That's just me.
No, but the Bears might be in a position where it doesn't matter. No matter how much, even if you're not like falling in love with some guy at the draft. I mean, you guys, we have to address the offensive line. If the Bears can't address those situations, those positions in free agency, they have to adjust to the draft. You can't just be like, well, there wasn't that many great offensive linemen in free agency in the draft this year, so we'll do that next year. Caleb Williams has to be protected. He absolutely has to be protected this season. It cannot be the 5th season in a row of a Bears quarterback getting sacked 50 plus times. I mean, you guys look at the correlation. The Bears quarterbacks have been sacked 50 plus times the last 4 years. The Bears have had a terrible record the last 4 years. At some point, you have to start to protect your quarterback. Go look at the teams in the playoffs. The top 10 ranked offensive lines this year: the Philadelphia Eagles, the Detroit Lions, the Baltimore Ravens, the Buffalo Bills, the Rams. I mean, look at all these teams that have good offensive lines. They all made the playoffs. Every single one of them made the playoffs. The Kansas City Chiefs were ranked 7. I mean, it's not rocket science. If the Bears can't protect the quarterback, they are not going to finish with a winning record this season. They have to protect Caleb Williams. They have to.
Not to mention, I got Pearce on a lot of boards as the number 2 overall edge rusher. I just don't even know if he's going to be there for the Bears, to be honest with you.
Real quick, you guys, he is projected a top 10 pick by NFLDraftBuzz.com. He had 7 sacks, 7.5 sacks last year, 100 pass rush rating, 94 run defense rating. So
he's a stud.
He's good against both, man. I mean, this guy is awesome.
You want to know the truth is, if you look at a lot of the mocks, they have him going 14, 15, 16. So he's falling out of the top 10 in a lot of the mocks. That's why I'm saying if he does fall to the Bears at 10, it's a guy I'd be very interested in, because you have to help that position. And I'm kind of with Broski Bear, that was Ant Mass who said,
not many left tackles in this draft.
There's not that many left tackle studs, that are in this draft.
Real quick, Broski Bear says James Pearce played at Tennessee. I don't want any players from that crummy program. He also says, I agree with that. I mentioned it on a previous show here. Those are premier positions. Bears need to go left tackle or defensive end, and whichever they don't draft at 10, you have to draft in the second round. I agree with you there, Broski Bear, 100%. Whichever one of those positions they take in the first, they have to take the opposite the second, 100%, no doubt about that. No defensive ends jump out at me besides Carter. And we're going to talk about Carter a little bit.
Until we're done,
Carter has
you
some
might find a couple
as well, guys. Broski says, Broski, what up? Oh, they're saying what's up to each other here. It's more likely to get a starting defensive end in the second round than a starting left tackle in the second round. Probably a true statement there.
Probably,
and then Brandon
right.
says, will Carter, Pearce, and Graham go before 10? ? He's asking, do you guys think that those 3 will go before 10? I don't think all 3 of them will, Brandon, just because the quarterbacks. We know that some teams, probably going to be 3 or 4 quarterbacks drafted this year, even if we don't agree that they should be drafted.
Not a very good quarterback class.
Yeah. No, it's not. It's not really good. It's not. There's no class in this draft besides running back that really jumps off the page at you guys. There really isn't. There's no class of anything in this draft. No certain position that's like, man, this is one of the best drafts I've seen for this position in a long time. There's just nothing there besides running back.
When to answer your question, Brandon, in my mind, I think Carter and Graham will both be gone. Pearce, I don't. I think Pearce may fall to 10, but I don't have any doubt. And here, we said this in the last couple of weeks. If somehow the sky falls and Graham ends up at 10, we're all doing backflips because that's where the Bears go. That's who you take.
And the Bears trade back to 11.
Oh, God.
No, I agree with you, Sean. I think if anything, the odds that one of those three guys is going to be there, it's probably going to be Pearce. Sean, I like Pearce a lot. I mean, so his player strengths listed here, or his number one strength was displays first step explosion off the edge, possesses remarkable bend and flex when turning the corner, and had a 4.49 40 time, which is really good for defensive ends, especially guy 243 pounds. His biggest weakness listed was lacks ideal play strength at the point of attack, can get displaced against powerful offensive tackles. So if he plays bigger offensive tackles, it's where he struggles the most.
Yeah, and the one other thing that I took, they said that he turns his speed into power with great balance and has a lot of athleticism while he does that. I think with our new line coach here that could work with this kid, I think James Pearce could be a tremendous asset for the Chicago Bears. I really do believe that.
I hope and think that Brandon's joking here when he says best long snapper class in the decade. I actually, you know what? I hope so, because the Bears need one. They need one. So I hope.
I think we're bringing back Scales.
Yeah, I mean, Scales long snap's pretty cheap, so I don't think the Bears are really too worried about it. You can find those guys in here. And Brandon puts a laughing emoji, so obviously he's just messing around. Jay or Sean, were you done with Pearce, or do you want anything else?
Yeah, Jay, who you got? We got to put a little ramp up on this here.
Well, I'll start with maybe not my top side. One of the top guys, though, that's in the draft. It's not a guy that I really I like the guys that are unknown, because it just, I love an underdog. I love seeing a guy get drafted in the third round or on day 3 who just turns out to be a stud. But one of the guys that's in the top 10, I want to see a lot of time. I saw him number 9 is Landon Jackson. He's a stud from Arizona.
Yeah.
He's
Arkansas,
big.
Arkansas.
Arkansas, yeah.
What's up, K9? Thanks for joining the show, man.
He's lean. He's 6'7", 280, but like he's ripped, dude. He's a solid 280. He runs a 4.6 40. He's the only Razorback defender to record multiple games with 8+ tackles, 3+ tackles for loss, and 2 sacks. I think he got injured against Missouri. But he did play in the Senior Bowl and actually played very well in the Senior Bowl. He's just super fast off the ball. I think he's even dropped back into coverage a couple of times just because of his lean size and speed. They're not afraid to maybe, feint a blitz and then, send him back to cover a tight end. But, if you're going top 10, I think is a value pick there. Hey, Arkansas SEC school. I mean, he's playing Alabama. He's playing big schools. And I think he had like a 3-game stretch ending up in like Texas A&M where he just like destroyed, like single-handedly had like a Khalil Mack game, against the Packers. When that first game, Khalil Mack was with the Bears. So he's a really good kid. We'll see when he goes, but it's so deep, man, he's probably not going to go until like the second round, so.
Well, I'll tell you this, Jay, just to pile on, I'm a big fan of Landon Jackson as well. And at 6'7", 280 pounds, this guy has uncommon explosiveness.
Julius Peppers, man.
Yeah. And he plays very violent. But I'll tell you, in his career as an Arkansas Razorback, he played 0 technique, 3 technique, 5 technique, defensive end, outside, and even inside linebacker. He plays all over the place, and he still produced top 25 PFF defensive grade for an edge rusher while he's moving around the field at 82.1. This guy could be very, very special.
Sean, I'm glad you brought that up, because one of my requirements that I looked at while I was looking for guys is I was looking for value, because everybody's going to tell you about the top 10 guys at every position, right? I was looking for value picks, but I was also looking for guys that are versatile, because it is going to happen in the NFL. I don't care who you are. You're going to get injured. Might be for a week, might be for 3 weeks, might be for a play, might be for whatever. So, I'm looking for guys, and a lot of the guys that I have on my list here have either played both right and left side defensive end. They've played 0 technique. They've played tackle. So they're guys that were, they're versatile. I don't have very many 3-4 guys. I have 2 on here, but they're guys that I think, because they're really good at setting the edge, can actually transfer over to a 4-3, which is what Dennis Allen runs. But I'm glad you brought that up, because versatility to me on both sides of the line, on offense and defense, versatility is like key, because you're gonna have to play one of those other positions at some point.
Yeah, real quick, guys. K9 says, "What's good, fellas? I hope all is well. Just joining, no notification. K9, I'm sorry about that. If you're saying there was no notification about the show, we've had some technical difficulties lately.
Yeah.
Facebook's just made some changes here as of late that have been really weird. Sean had trouble getting the show on Twitter today. We also had something's wrong with Dustin's Facebook page. So I don't know if that's normally where you get the notification, but I know that his Facebook page is no longer attached to StreamYard. So we're going to get all this stuff fixed, guys. I promise by next week, all this stuff will be working.
We'll have it fixed by Saturday's debut of the Northside 9.
Yeah, but K9, we appreciate you joining us regardless, man. Thanks a lot, dude. Please hit like and subscribe. Please share this with your friends if you enjoy watching us. And then continue to comment, man. We'd like to get to some of your comments at some point here.
Yeah,
Sean, who do you got next, man?
Appreciate it. I'm going to follow Jason's lead, and I'm going to take a guy that's going projected to go late in the second, and a guy who could produce very well in the NFL, and you got to love his name, Braden Sack Swinson. So we're going to talk about this gentleman right here, LSU product. Coming off the edge. Right now, they have him going late. He's an overall number 62 ranked player in the draft, 20th at his position. He's played 53 games in the NFL, or in the college, 1,558 snaps. He's 6'4", 250 pounds. His strengths are great arm length, superb get off. He had 9 sacks, 60 total pressures, top 5 in rush win rate at 22.1%. His pass grade on PFF was 90.2. He's just an underrated name in a stacked defensive class, as we said when we come in here. His burst and his bend need to develop, which, again, this is a player you take later and you trust in your coaches would have 45 years of experience on that line to hopefully, get this guy to where he is. He had a very good end of the year, and now I'm starting to see, as I was doing some research on him today, they're saying that he could actually sneak into the top 100 picks. So if this is what it is, he could use some fine tuning on his rush pass, his run technique, facing pullers. He has some really nice tape. He has a quick first step. He has very heavy hands, and he's very strong at the point of attack and convert his speed into power bull rushes to attack offensive tackles. So this is a gentleman, again, underneath the radar that people are not talking about, but he has great get off. He gets after the quarterback. Do you
know what his 40 time is? I think Brennan's wondering.
You know what? I can find it for you really quick. I did not write his 40 time down, but we'll get it right now.
Yeah, he does look explosive, man. He's got some quick feet. He's also very patient.
Yes,
also very
thank
patient.
you, Jay. He had a 4.80.
4.80 is slow.
Ugh.
Yeah, he has a 4.80, 6'4", 250. This is on NFL Draft Buzz. He ran a 4.80. His offensive, his tackling, his pass rush was 98. His run defense was 80. So
he's gonna have to improve that 40 at the combine if he wants to move up in the draft at all.
Yeah, dash for cash, baby.
Defensive.
So I mean, it's just another guy that you can take in the end, in the back half of the draft, if you're going to spend some money or you're going to spend your early draft fixing your offensive line. It's just a guy that I'm giving you towards the back half that looks like he has some potential. He looks very explosive off the line if you look at that tape that we just said. So I'm not like, oh, draft this guy right away, but I do love his name because he did get nicknamed Braden Sack Swinson. So he does get after the quarterback, and his teammates thought enough to give him that. So
real quick, Broski Bear says, I don't want versatile. I want a left tackle. I also want a defense end who can play 3 downs. Sweat, Walker, and Booker, only DNs under contract, and Walker is probably a cut candidate. I don't know if the Bears are going to cut Walker just because of the position they're in. They only have 34 players under contract next season. I think the Bears are probably going to hold on to some of the guys you guys would probably like to see cut, or guys you guys don't think are doing a very good job here, but they just don't have a lot of luxury to be cutting guys right now, man. They're going to have to. I think you're going to see the Bears sign some undrafted free agents and probably some free agents that you didn't think were very good, but you have to fill the roster at some point. Sean, do you care if I go over Abdul Carter real quick? This is going to be real quick because everybody knows who he is. I don't spend a bunch of time on him. But you guys,
really quick, thank you to the Twitter community out there. I see you. We got a bunch of you in the building If you guys like what you're hearing, please jump over to our YouTube page, like and subscribe, smash those buttons because we appreciate y'all, man. Thank you guys so
you
much.
guys, thank you. Without you guys, man, we're just three guys sitting here talking about football. So we appreciate you guys very, very much, man. If you do enjoy listening to us, please go to the YouTube page and hit subscribe, please, please, please. So Abdul Carter is, of course, you guys know, the number one position rank or number one defensive end in this draft. He reminds me personally, I'm sure there's a million different professional comps, but he reminds me a lot of a guy like Micah Parsons, man. He's 6'3", 259 pounds from Penn State. He's projected to go in the top 5 picks in the NFL draft. He had a 91.1 player rating, which was the highest of any of the defensive ends coming into this draft. That's per draftbuzz.com, guys. He had 11 sacks last year. He had a 100 pass rush rating and an 83 run defense rating. So he's actually a little bit lower than a lot of guys on this list in the run defensive rating, but man, when you looked at his strengths, I mean, it was just a bunch of cliche, super athletic, freakish athlete, natural violence, closing burst, competitive toughness, length and strength. I mean, just it was the longest list of strengths I've ever seen.
But does he have sand in his pants?
Dude. And it's that's the question, Jay. He runs a 4.48 40 times, so he's also very, very, very quick.
Very, very quick.
He had 3 weaknesses listed, which isn't much, but the number one weakness listed was he relies heavily on pure athleticism, needs growth on counter moves. So if he gets up to a tackle and they can lock him down, he has to figure out a way to get out of that block. Mm-hmm. But I mean, you guys, by all accounts, this guy is going to be one of the top best players in the NFL.
And if you look at it too, the 4 top power edge rushers, Carter isn't on the list. So he's falling below a couple of these other guys that we're going to get to. James Williams is going back to Florida State. He's not coming out in this draft, so that'll be a top name if he decides to come out next year, obviously. But you got another one, Jay?
How big is Micah Parsons?
I think he's 6'3".
They're almost the same exact size, right? Him and Abdul Carter?
They're very similar in stature.
They look similar, man.
Yeah.
He's 6'3", 247 pounds.
Yeah, dude, they are almost exactly.
Elite skill level.
Carter's a little bit heavier, but they're almost the exact same pound. Brennan says Landon Jackson's the man. I'm rooting for him wherever he's drafted. Broski says I'm drafting running backs with both 7th-round picks. And Turd Ferguson has joined the chat and says bear down, fella. Another guy we didn't get a chance to say hello to who joined the chat a little while back, guys, is James Kelfer. James, it's always nice to see you.
What's up, James?
We love you. We appreciate you. Please hit like. Please subscribe if you haven't already, and please share us with your friends if you like watching us. Sean, what do you got?
You want to know what's funny is I forgot to say this. Landon Jackson, they asked Landon Jackson, what's his playing style? And his answer was, I just go out there and play pissed off.
That's right.
That's what I like to hear, that's the shit you like to hear. That's the shit that survives in the NFL right there, man. Those are the guys who live.
And I'm a big fan of Landon Jackson as well, Brandon. I really am. That tape that we shared in our group chat, right after we looked at that, I really took a deep dive into this guy and started like unraveling him. And I'm like, wow, man, this guy could be a hidden gem in this draft, man. I mean, he looks like a freaking monster, dude. I mean, he's a monster.
Dude, he's ripped. He's lean. He's got like 6% body fat. I mean, it's 280 of like muscle. Dude,
when they say monsters aren't real, I say go check out Landon Jackson.
Yeah. So I guess my next guy, I've seen him on a couple of lists, but he's probably a day 3 guy at best, maybe 6th, 7th round. I don't know how fast he's going to go in the draft, but we'll see what happens in the combine. He's one of my linebackers, one of my 3-4 guys. That's Donovan Ezeraku out of Boston College. He's 6'2", 247, but he has a 90 overall PFF ranking, so not that bad. He had a monster year in 24, 80 tackles, 37 solo, 3 forced fumbles, and 16.5 sacks. So this guy definitely
for a defensive end.
Yeah,
he is. That's why he's again another one of those guys that can set the edge, but he's basically a guy that drops back in coverage. He's a 3-4 guy. He's got a super exceptional ability to flex and bend in his lower body, especially at the ankles, to get around the edge. If you watch his highlight reels, he's nonstop. I think literally every single one of those sacks is just violently hitting a quarterback in the back, which is awesome. It's what you want out of a defensive end. He's relentless in his pass rush. He'll run down a running back He'll run down a wide receiver that's running on an end around. He's not super fast, but he will keep pursuing. Like I said, he's probably a 3-4 guy, but if maybe they can gain a little bit of weight on him, or maybe if he's better and he can really, perfect that setting the edge, maybe we get a guy like that. I mean, listen, I know it was Boston College. He's not playing in the SEC. He's not playing in the Big Ten. But
Sure.
16.5 sacks is 16.5 sacks.
I'm with you, man. I'm with you.
Sean, where did Richard Deck play at college?
Tennessee State, baby.
Tennessee State, guys. College doesn't necessarily matter, guys. Obviously, the guys from bigger schools get more attention, but you can find the diamonds in the rough. Where did Puka Nacua play college?
Yeah.
These guys are out there, man. And real quick, what's up, Elizabeth? She sent the Bears colored hearts there for us.
Okay, I don't remember who helped me on Monday, and I'm gonna butcher the shit out of this guy's name, but I'm going to a guy, Princely. Manina. I'm probably butchering his last name, but this guy is highly sought after. When I was doing my research, the Bengals, the Bears, the Packers, the Niners, the Ravens, the Lions, and the Eagles are all interested and in on this kid right here, right now. He is an absolute beast. We got a little film on him. He right now is projected to go late in the first, early second. He's the number 32 overall prospect. He ranks 13th. He's played 56 college games. He's had 1,810 college snaps. He's obviously an edge at 6'4", 265 pounds, 24 statistics, 11 sacks, 16 QB hits, 28 hurries, 91.4 pass rush grade, and 90.9 pass rush grade on true pass sets. This guy is the real deal, man. And I did read, and I wrote this down because I did read that the Cincinnati Bengals are very highly considering taking him at number 17. He is my number 3 edge in this draft. His positives are explosiveness. He's a freak coming off the ball. His first step is ridiculous, allows him to gain his advantage immediately and impact the quarterback. His pass rush plan, he's got a good pass rush plan. This is always good to see how advanced a player is. Princely will be working one way or one move all game, only to hit a counter move perfectly when he needs to make a move or make a big play. So this guy has an endless bag of pass rush moves. He bends the corner well. He pushes through tackles. He has nasty spin moves. He's truly been showcased. Very deep, very versatile pass repertoire. His negatives are run defense. He graded out as an average run defender, which they're saying, the scouts are saying, is being very generous. He's a true pass rush specialist, but provides tools needed to improve in the run game. So, I mean, if you're looking at him, his NFL comp is Josh Sweat. So if you're looking to sign Josh Sweat, and you can end up with this guy, obviously 10 might be a little bit high, but there are teams in the first round, including 2 in our own division, that are very interested in Princely. And
Well, Josh Sweat's decent against the run, so if that's a generous rating for his run block, he is not going to be a guy who's going to.
Hey, I'm just telling you what I got from the scouts, man.
No, I like the tape, man. I like the tape. He has a very quick first step. He gets off the line very fast, man. I think that's why those tackles were struggling with him so much, man. He gets around you pretty quickly there, but. Yeah, man. If he's a guy there that's there in this, I wouldn't trade up for somebody like that. But if he was there in the second round, if he fell in the second round and he's still there for the Bears, yeah, 100%.
And the Bears our draft picks are scrolling at the bottom. I mean, he would be an ideal 39 or 41st pick overall. I don't know if he'll still be around in that position, but I mean, we'll see what he does at the combine, because the combine changes everything. He could move right into the middle of that first round and be taken at 17 by the Cincinnati Bengals, who we talked about a little earlier, need all the defensive help that they can get. So, Jay, who's the next guy on your list, man?
Well, I had a guy, but I think I'm going to skip ahead here. I love this kid, Jordan Birch from Oregon, but
sure,
dude, I'm going to switch ahead to this kid, Ashton Gelati. They call him the Angry Bird out of Louisville.
That's a terrible nickname, dude.
He's 6'3", 275. Played all 4 years for the Cards. He's probably another one of those late round guys. He had a better 23 season than he did a 24 season. But in 23, he had 9 sacks, 14.5 tackles for loss, 45 total tackles, 23 solo and 3 forced fumbles. I did hear that the Chiefs are highly into this kid, and they love him a lot. He's got quick burst into the backfield. If you watch him, it seems like he's always in the backfield. Even if it's on the other side of the play, he's always closing off his end of the field, which is super important. If you're not going to be able to sack the guy, at least cut your side of the field off. He's probably the 5th best pass rushing D lineman overall, 12th best run stopper. He probably winds up playing. He probably winds up playing tackle, to be perfectly honest with you. That's what I think he'll wind up doing, just because his height isn't there. And I think some of these bigger tackles are just going to have more leverage on him. But at his size, at 275, he's not a little guy. He's got an 87.8 PFF ranking, so not that bad. But again, it's super deep, so don't be surprised if he goes late. One last note: he made Bruce Feldman's freak list at 276 pounds. He still hit 20 miles per hour. His vertical jump is 36 inches, and he could power clean 405 pounds. So big, strong, fast.
Yeah.
Athletic.
It's a big dude.
Yeah. What was he's another versatile guy that could play both inside and edge. So, another guy, guys, that doesn't mean that this guy's not going to be a good edge rusher or he's, a better tackle. But you want a guy that can play edge and then move on to the inside. He can both sides of the defensive line. It keeps offenses honest, and you don't know how to play them. You can't just then always run right or always run left or run it up the middle. You're going to have to account for these guys. And when they're elite rushers, hopefully they're elite rushers from any position, but it really just wreaks havoc. And you watch some of the greatest players in the NFL now, that's what they do. They'll line up right at nose tackle, go right at the center. They don't care. The guys, size isn't all that important either. I mean, we were just talking about Micah Parsons. He's not even 250 pounds. So, it's a mix of size and athletic ability. And then some of these guys too, you really want to look at their awareness and their football IQ. Yeah, they can penetrate, but can they track the ball? If you penetrated and the running back's already 3 yards, over the line of scrimmage, who gives a shit? So, you really want a guy who knows the play, knows what's going on. And I think Ashton is one of those kids.
Yeah, I like that. I actually like that profile. I missed. What round did you say he's projected in, Jay?
I probably think he's a 5th rounder.
Okay.
We don't have a 5th round, I don't believe, but maybe he's 4th. I don't know. Again,
we do. We got a 5th. Yeah,
we don't have a 4th.
We don't have a 4th
round. Sorry, yeah, 4th round. So we'll see. I mean, I really hope we get that extra 3rd round. If we get 2 seconds and 2/3 and we draft right, this could be a very healthy draft for us, guys.
I don't know, Jay. They might need Ian Cunningham in there. It's gonna take all hands on deck for the Bears to nail a draft for the first time in Ryan Pohl's career. Sean, you want me to do a guy real quick? Or?
Last year wasn't that bad of a draft, though.
You want me to do a guy real quick, Sean?
Sure.
Yeah.
So another guy who's going to be projected 1st round, a guy who's on the high end of everybody's list, Mykel Williams. You guys didn't do him yet, right?
Nope. I have some words on Mr. Williams.
He's a big boy. He's 6'5", 265 pounds. He's defensive end of Georgia. His position rank is 3rd of all the defensive ends coming into the draft. He has an 87.7 player rating. He had 5 sacks last season. He's 80 pass rush rating and a 92 run defense rating. So he's actually better at playing the run than he is rushing the passer. His biggest strength was showcases rare power at the point of attack, consistently controls blocks with violent hands, and he ran a 4.640. His biggest weaknesses can be a tick late off of the snap, needs to develop a more diverse pass rush arsenal. So they're saying he needs to develop more spin moves, stuff like that. But that's stuff that, like we said, these guys can develop in the NFL. And better coaches, better conditioning programs, they will get better than they get up here. So another guy the Bears could keep their eye on at 10 if like Vernon said, the 3 big studs go in the top 10. Another guy would be there for them.
I actually really do. I like him too. I mean, he's a freakish athlete at the edge at 6'5", 275 pounds. He's 35-inch arms.
He's got a cool highlight reel on YouTube, dude. It's actually awesome.
Yeah, you know what? I tried to get one, and I think I did it, and I completely forgot to download it to the system because he was one of my top guys. So I'm sorry about that. But guys, if you want to see how dominant he is, I was looking at the Auburn game, the Mississippi State game,
and the
2 games against Texas. So if you want to pull up some tape and see how freakish this guy is, check out those the 2 against Texas, Mississippi State, and Auburn. He was an absolute stud. He's amazing at shedding blocks, and he's very violent at the point of attack.
Oh, yeah.
So this guy, I really do like Mykel Williams. Kyle, this is another stud muffin.
Yeah, and he's one of those guys. Guys, he's one of those guys we've been talking about with some of the tackles and guards in this draft. They could probably trade back to 12 or 13 and still get Mykel Williams if they really, really wanted him. But yeah, I mean, when I was reading all of his strengths and reading his bio, he is a very impressive young man, and it sounds like he's only going to be moving up in their rankings as
the only weakness I didn't like about him was they said he struggles on one-on-one hand fighting, and that's kind of, at the point of attack. So hopefully he's kind of raw though, from everything that I'm reading. He's still growing into his role. So
yeah, and most of these kids are probably not.
Yeah,
have not.
He's still produced though.
Yeah. Oh, he's still produced. He's a big time player, man. He's a big time player. He's probably one of the more freakish athletes in this draft, especially at 6'5", 270 pounds, and he's got a little motor on him. So,
Sean, let's talk about that Senior Bowl kid, man. That guy is Senior Bowl guy. Everybody's loved talking about this guy, man.
Oh, Mike Green?
Yeah, man. His name is blowing up in all these mock drafts. They moved this guy. They moved this kid up from mid-second round to top 15. And like every single
dude, I have him in top 5 in some of them. If you go to NFL Buzz, he's like the number 4 guy or 3 guy.
I've never seen a kid make this big of a jump because of a Senior Bowl. This is crazy, man.
So we're gonna go through this really quick. Scouts are saying this guy has a lethal first step, a very high motor. He's very crafty and developed a very lethal pass rush arsenal. He has insane athleticism. He led college football with 17 sacks. He had 63 pressures in 2024. For me, he's going to be my number 4 edge in this draft, who could end up maybe being number 1. Green is aggressive, relentless rusher. And this is the big thing that you read in a lot of his weaknesses. They said there's a big misconception that Mike Green is non-existent against the run. Not only is he existent, he's actually extremely productive in that area. And among NFL players, and you know what, Kyle? I actually think I have a banner for this. Yes, Mike Green. Here's Mike Green's numbers against the run. 99 percentile and above 96. Oh, no, there's a 95. So above 95 in every single category. Oh, there's a 93. Well, that's a pass rush. That's a pass rush grade, though. That's not against the run. That's a pass rush grade. So if you look at those numbers, now they're saying this dude is going to be real in the NFL. He has active hands, twitchy, great bend around the corner. His pass rush moves are already there. Great against the run, explosive closing speed. They call him Will Anderson Light. Mike Green, 6'3", 251 pounds, runs a 4.5 40, 32 1/4 inch arms. Will Anderson, 6'3", 253, 4.6 40, 33 3/4 inch arms. And if you look at their tape, they have a lot of similar traits on their tape.
Sean, he's the most, I guess you'd say, like he is just as good against the run. So NFL Draft Buzz ranked him a 91 pass rush rating and a 91 run defense rating. So he is a very even keel player. They have him. He's basically good at everything. Their biggest strength on him was explosive first step and bend around the edge, reminiscent of Von Miller. So they're comparing him to Von Miller. That's always a good thing to hear.
Good one.
They said he consistently beats tackles with pure speed. He runs a 4.5 40. And Sean, the weaknesses I read on NFL Draft Buzz, they say that it's a common misconception that he struggles against the run. He doesn't struggle against the run. He struggles against setting the edge for outside run schemes. So they're saying when there's a run through the tackles, he's very good at getting in the middle and making a tackle. When they run around the edge and the tackle has to set that edge, he struggles against that. He loses containment responsibilities when hunting splash plays. That's what it said. So, but I mean, like I said, guys, this guy had 17 sacks last year, and people could say, oh, he played for Marshall. It doesn't matter. I mean, every single tackle he went up against, he had a good game. So obviously he has a lot of talent, a lot of skill, and I think he's going to be very good in the NFL. This is a guy who's projected late first round, but I would not be upset at all if the Bears drafted him at 10 or even traded back a few spots and drafted him. I think Mike Green is
rising. Watch somebody bite on him in the first.
I think he's the real deal, and I think he's going to be.
You want to know what's funny, Kyle, is the mock drafts I looked up today. They have him going in the top 10.
Yeah,
Like,
I mean, he keeps moving all over the place.
Yeah,
Real quick, guys. I don't want to get us off tracks here, but you guys, we have a record for people viewing a Wednesday show here. We appreciate you guys. All you guys on Twitter, please try to make your way over to YouTube and subscribe to our 4 Stars Chicago Sports YouTube channel. We really appreciate you guys, man. Thank you so much for watching. Please continue to comment, share this with your friends if you guys enjoy watching us. And then real quick, guys, T has also joined the show here. He says, "Your king of the north is here, good people." So I guess he's claiming he's the king of the north. He says, "What's up? Thumbs up, good people, if you haven't." So thanks a lot, T. We appreciate that. Guys, please give us a thumbs up or a like if you're watching the show here. Sean, who do you got next, man?
We're gonna go with the guy. Let me see. Where's his draft projection? He is a late first round, early second round. So we're looking at 39-41, possibly, for our man out of Texas A&M, Nick Scroton. This is his Purdue tape. He transferred, and his season last year was actually better. He actually fell off this year. But he's ranked 26th overall, the number 10 prospect at the defensive end position. He's played 36 college games, 1,496 snaps. To me, he's an interesting cat because he did fall off this year, but they're saying scouts say he's very solid strength, has a super high motor, very solid speed. And he has laid claim to being the best run defender of all the edge prospects in this draft. He's 6'4", 285 pounds, moves incredibly well. He's known for his signature spin moves. I wrote this down twice. He's one of the better run defenders in this class. He had 78 pressures, 12 sacks over the past 2 seasons at Purdue and Texas A&M. He's a top 50 player. His strengths are power, quickness, and length. They all show up pretty consistently versus the run. At 280 pounds, he's just cut different than the rest of this group. His tape shows his bull rush, shows off the impressive length and power that he possesses. Multiple promising extra efforts plays as well. Fighting through chips, pursuit across the field, etc. He did have a relative down year this year in 24 compared to 23, but this is another kid. He's going to be 21 years old the first week of the 2025 football season.
If I'm not mistaken, he's not the only Texas A&M defensive end listed in the top 10 this year, is he? Isn't there another?
No, there's another A&M kid in the top 10 as well.
So they probably fed off of each other too.
Yeah. Mm-hmm. Yeah.
Who's the other kid? Shamar Stewart.
Yeah.
He's huge, isn't he? Isn't Shamar Stewart?
And the thing about Stewart for me, and this is the thing that's a little bit crazy, is when you look at Stewart, you look at him and say, man, he looks really good on tape. But then you go look at his college, and I think he's played 3 or 4 years. He only has 5 sacks. So he doesn't get after the quarterback, but they have him ranked as the number 4 edge.
He had 4 last year, so it sounds like he's getting better. He had 4 of those sacks last year.
He's got a lot of hurries. He's got a lot of pressures.
He's 6'6", 290 pounds. He's projected mid-first round. He has an E7.4 player rating. Or no, he had 1.5 sacks last year. So I'm sorry, I stand corrected.
He's got 4.5 for his college career.
Well, maybe they expect him to be one of those guys that Jason's talking about. The guy who he's 290 pounds. That guy could play tackle in the NFL.
Oh, that was the other thing. That was the other thing they said. They said most NFL teams are going to like him to get down to about 270. So
yeah, I mean, if he's going to stay defensive end, I would assume he has to. I mean, his strengths were a rare blend of size and athleticism at 290 pounds. Shows shocking closing burst at the quarterback, devastating point power at the point of attack. He ran a 4.7, so he is kind of slow. His weaknesses was raw pass rush, needs significant refinement, relies too heavily on pure athleticism rather than the developing consistent counter moves. So this guy sounds like a project. It's kind of surprising to me that he's ranked 4 for all defensive ends.
I'm going to be honest. I'm really shocked he's so high, especially when you look at his numbers compared to these other people.
It's probably just purely because you guys know how much these teams fall in love with size and speed. I mean, if this guy is 290 pounds and he's running a 4.7, that's pretty impressive for a guy who's almost 300 pounds, man. That's insane.
Who's the next one you got, Jay?
I got a kid out of Ole Miss. I actually love this kid. Another bigger kid, Jared Ivey.
Mr. Ivy.
I think he's a top 15 guy, but got a 90.6 overall PFF ranking, 6'6", 285, big dude. Another guy that's really good and flexible around the end. What's really crazy is if you watch him, he has like big steps, so he's fast, but he looks slow, and he can really sneak up and just really catch a tackle unaware if they're not paying attention. He's a violent tackler, another guy that basically like hits you hard. The knock I got on that though, if you watch a lot of his tackles, he's dropping his hips, so I don't know how well that's going to translate into the NFL if he's going to call for penalties for that. He consistently walks back a lot of SEC tackles with his bull rush. He's got a super high football IQ. He's really patient in the run too. You watch him every once in a while. He'll rush, stop, and then sees the rusher, and just obliterates him because he's so damn big. He can play every position on the D line. Another great guy to have. Super high motor. And I heard that the Steelers and the Lions are interested in him. So if they're interested in him, dude, because they both draft very, very well.
Where is his projection, Jason? I'm sorry.
I'm guessing he's a top 15 guy, so he's like a second, third round guy.
I have him in the third round, 77th overall, 25th ranked right now, according to NFL Draft Plus. That's NFL Draft Plus. So I did read today, and I wrote this down, that the most impressive attributes about Jared Ivey are his eye-popping pass rush and his power at the point of attack. So Strong. This is another guy that
he's violent. He's violent at the point of attack.
Yeah, and it says, I had to scout right as Ivey projects to the NFL. His size, length, and power make him a versatile prospect capable of fitting into multiple schemes. Although I think his best projection is dropping some weight and playing the edge full time, where his length and power can go up against lighter tackles, and he can show off his explosiveness and burst in the short areas.
And to me, that's what makes him sneaky. I read that too, because if he gets down to, let's say, 270, 275, he's a guy that now all of a sudden, because of his long steps, he's going to be even faster. And it's weird. Watch his highlight reel. It's like, how did he get back there? Is that tackle that bad? He's just like 3 steps. He's in the backfield, dude, like deep into the backfield. So if he gets faster and leaner, watch out, dude. He might be a steal. He may be one of those guys where we're like, where'd this dude come from?
And he could.
Broski Bear says, watch the Bears go running back and safety with their second-round picks. Ben Johnson doesn't like Swift, and Roshan Johnson isn't the answer. Ben wants a running back. Byard could be a cut candidate, and Brisker could be done. Byard saves the Bears $7 million if cut. I would not want to see the Bears cut Kevin Byard.
I'm with Kyle.
$7 million is way worth it. He's a good safety.
I don't know. Been a lot. We've heard a lot of this year about the Bears cutting good players to save salary. Like, the point is to bring as many good players here as you can. You cut players. The players you want to cut are the Gerald Everetts, the guys who were here for all year and had 150 yards receiving and 7 penalties. Those are the guys you don't want to see in the Bears next year. But I think both DeMarcus Walker and Kevin Byard played really important roles for the Bears last year, and I think they both have earned a spot on this roster in 2025. Real quick, also, guys, I'm sorry, but we have now smashed our Wednesday record of live viewers. So we appreciate you guys. Everybody on TikTok, please go over to YouTube and subscribe to our Twitter. Sorry. Please go over to YouTube and subscribe to our 4-Star Chicago Sports YouTube page. We appreciate you guys. Thanks for watching. Feel free to comment, guys. We'd love to get to some of your comments. I don't know how the comments work with that, Sean. Can you see those?
They can. I can't see them, but there is a place for a comment section. So I hope comments aren't coming in. I could load it up. I don't know how they come in.
Yeah, right now, guys, until we can kind of figure all this stuff out. If you guys want to comment on the show, just go over to our YouTube page. That's where we can see all these comments down on the screen here, guys. We appreciate you all joining us. We'd love to hear from you, man. And I stand corrected. T is not claiming he is the king of the North. He is a Lions fan, and he's claiming they are the king of the North. We'll see how that happens. We'll see how that works out when they're missing their entire coaching staff. They're
joining us. We'd love to hear from you, man.
Oh, sorry about that.
You guys mind if I do a guy real quick? There's a guy I really like. Projected late first round. He's not a guy I don't think he's going to be a guy he's kind of got a little bit of Mata sweat in him. Bigger guy who's more good at everything rather than just rushing the passer. His name is Jack Sawyer. He's defensive end for Ohio State. He's
Kyle, you're killing me. That was my next guy.
That's fine. I'll just go over the real quick here, and you can dive into him here. It's 6'5", 260 pounds. He had 8 sacks last season. He obviously played for a school that runs a professional NFL defense and offense. There, guys in Ohio State. His position rank for defensive end 6th in the draft. He is 87.3 player rating, 93 against the pass, 98 against the run. So it looks like he's going to be the best against the run of all the guys we've talked about on the show here today.
Another stud.
One of his biggest strengths was devastating power at the point of attack, consistently rocks back tackles with powerful first contact, and maintains leverage through the rep. He ran a 4.6, which is also really good for a guy who's 260 pounds. And then his biggest weakness listed here was below average get off at the snap, usually the last man on the defensive line moving after the whistle is blown. So that's a little concerning, but that's something that when he's drafted, a team could definitely work and fix.
And we're gonna relive a really happy moment. Hold on 1 second. Here we go. We need 18 seconds.
Pressure comes. Sawyer knocked it out and picks it up. Jack Sawyer headed down the sidelines. Ohio State scoop and score and dagger from 82 yards.
Jack Sawyer. He's just got like an all-American type of name, right?
He does.
He kind of looks like Aiden Hutchinson a little bit too. He's got like
he was the guy that sparked that big brawl with Michigan this past year. And the one thing that Jack Sawyer has, and if there's any Buckeyes fans that are listening, I know this hurts. He went 0-4. He did get a national championship, but he went 0-4 against Michigan. That's like us losing to the goddamn Packers constantly. It's a brutal rivalry, and he was the one who started that big brawl after the game when they tried to plant that flag. Jack Sawyer defended the Ohio State field, and it was, Ohio State, Michigan. It's one of the greatest rivalries in all sports. So
he's one of my favorite in this draft, man. That guy is just, when you talk about motors, that guy has one of the biggest motors of anybody in this draft. And not only that, man, but I know it doesn't always lead to sacks, guys, but his get off, the push he gets when that whistle is snapped.
I was going to say that his first push is like
sometimes, man, that just messes up the timing for the offense. Even if you don't get back there and get a sack, and it doesn't show up in the stat sheet, but if you can push that tackle back where the quarterback has to start moving around, that can throw off everything for the offense. He's a guy who, if he's there, somehow is still there in the second round, and the Bears haven't addressed that defensive end position early, like with the 10th pick or in free agency, that is a guy who would be on the top of my list. He kind of reminds me a little bit of Braden Fisk, but as a defensive end as opposed to a tackle. So that's a guy I would keep my eye on if I was the Chicago Bears, no doubt about it.
And you know what? From 21, 22, 23, 24, if you look at his numbers, and you know what? I'll throw them up on the screen right here really quick. Give me 1 second. He improved every year. I mean, this guy was the real deal for the – here we go. Will it add? Why won't it add?
That guy that Jason was talking about also improved every single year. When you brought up those stats through the guy that Jason, he had like 1 sack, 3 sacks, 4 sacks his college career went on. He also improved in forced fumbles as well. So.
And the one guy we didn't talk about would be Jack Sawyer's counterpart, and I'm gonna butcher his name too, but it's JT Timalawo or something like that. He the Hawaiian.
Timalawo, He's
another top 10 guy.
Yeah, he's got a good too.
He's number 9, and he's projected to go late in the second, 48th overall prospect, 16th at the position. Played 52 games, 1,988 snaps. He's compared to Jeremiah Johnson out of Florida State. These are. I can't say this enough, and I said it a couple shows ago. But when you look at what the Philadelphia Eagles did, what did they do? They drafted championship DNA from the college level. Players that
they drafted everybody from Georgia.
Yeah, but it doesn't matter. They drafted players.
They were winning championships.
Yeah, at the highest level. These guys are champions. They have championship DNA, and they know how to win. And I'll tell you, I took away what Jalen Carter said after this Super Bowl. He goes, man, winning a national championship was something, but this winning a Super Bowl is completely different. His mind was blown, and you're talking about a dude who's been successful on every level. And Kyle, I said this. I'm not a big fan, and I don't know if you were on the show yet, Jay. I'm not a big fan of a lot of these kids from the smaller schools. I'm an SEC Big Ten guy.
You just talked up the kid from Marshall, Mike Green.
Here, you can find a diamond in the rough.
No, Sean, I understand what you're saying. First of all, the transition is much easier when these guys are already playing NFL stuff.
You can have a little bit more faith when a guy is playing on a championship organization like Ohio State.
You guys, it doesn't take a rocket scientist to figure out that Ohio State, Georgia, and Alabama have the most NFL players.
And that's what you should. And how many players started? I know the number. How many players started on the Eagles defense from back-to-back national championship teams? They had six damn Georgia Bulldogs who were successful at the highest level and then just brought that championship DNA.
How many we just talked about, Sean? How many championships did Devonta Smith win?
I mean everything. I mean, that guy's
was there for 2 championships.
It's insane. Dude.
Listen, I'm with you, Sean. If you're gonna, if you got a bunch of options and 3 or 4 of them are from Alabama, Ohio State, and these guys all kind of look like they have kind of similar projections. If you're like, we don't really know who the best is going to be, I'm taking the Ohio State, Alabama, Georgia kid.
Take the safe pick for sure. Yeah.
First of all, the transition is going to be much easier. You don't have to wait around as long for this guy to start playing well in the NFL because he's already been playing NFL style offense and defenses, and he's already been playing NFL offense and defensive players because most of these kids are after the NFL. So yeah, I mean, it just makes sense. It's why take a kid from small school? You're like, well, was he good because of the competition he was playing, or just a really
that's what you get scared about?
Mike Green is probably in the middle, right? Probably a mix of both. He's probably a guy who ended up at a small school like Marshall, but ended up being a very, very good football player, belongs in the NFL. Is he going to get 17 sacks every season in the NFL like he did last year at Marshall? Probably not. But can you get 10, 11, 12 out of him every year? If you can, he should be a first-round pick for sure. No doubt about it.
Yep. Yeah. And go ahead, Jay. What were you going to say?
No, I just said, yeah. I only got one guy left. So whenever you guys are ready, I'm ready.
I'm done. My list is done. So you guys run with it.
Fire away.
It's my last pick, and he's probably may even go undrafted, to be perfectly honest with you guys. But the more and more I read about this kid, the more and more I watch his highlights on YouTube, there's just something about this kid. I think he might be the biggest diamond in the rough. He goes by Q, but it's Quandarius Robinson out of Alabama. 6'5", 241. He's got an 86 overall grade. What are you laughing at over there, knucklehead?
That sounded like one of those Key and Peele skit names.
Oh yes, but different Finch.
Jammy.
By the way, in his Alabama career, he had to play behind Will Anderson, Dallas Turner, and Chris Braswell. So that's why you're not really hearing his name over this long period of time at Alabama. He was a patient player that did not complain about his playing time. He was originally recruited as a safety, really good in the pass rush, projected to be more of like a 3-4 linebacker guy. That's my second of 3-4 guy. But I think if he gains some weight, he's probably going to be that 4-3 guy that you're looking for. Let's see here. Oh, he's really, really good, like almost elite level at setting the edge, which is really strange for a 3-4 guy, but that's why I think he can transition into there.
How big is he, Jason? Sorry.
What's that?
How big is he?
He is 6'5", 241.
He played safety?
Well, he didn't weigh 241 when he was projected to be a safety. He was like a 4-star recruit, I believe. But it's still 6'5".
Yeah, that's a big safety, man. A huge safety.
Well, that's why they probably saw him and said, "Dude, we're going to put you on the defense."
No, Jason, I'm making your point. I mean, yeah, that's awesome. He's obviously very versatile. And who does that remind you of? Who is a tall safety?
Brian Urlacher.
Yeah, that's right. That's right.
By the way, he's he's got a clean injury history from high school through college, so never really been injured. And he's an excellent special teams contributor. So don't be surprised if we draft him really late, because at the very least, this guy might be starting on special teams. And that sometimes for a lot of guys is how you get into a starting job. Just ask Tom Thayer. That guy started the Super Bowl and played special teams for a long time.
Yeah, same as Brian Urlacher. Brian Urlacher didn't even know what position they were going to play him at when they drafted
him. Oh, he didn't start like one. Yeah.
They were like, this guy's just a freak athlete. Let's put him on the team. Maybe we'll find a spot for him.
He actually got the break because of an injury. And
if it wasn't for an injury, they never would have known that Brian Urlacher was as good as he was at middle linebacker. He failed at weak side linebacker.
It wasn't Minter, was it?
I can't remember who got hurt. I think it was.
I think it was.
If it was, I mean, he Wally pipped somebody. That's for sure. I remember.
Well, and he'd already failed at weak side linebacker for the Bears. They'd already told him, "You're not going to play that position again. You're not very good there." And then it wasn't for that injury and him coming and stepping in the middle linebacker, he never would have had that legacy they had in the Chicago Bears. But yeah, I agree with you, Jason. When you get those 6th, 7th rounds or undrafted free agents, you should just be looking for pure athleticism, guys, where you're like, hey, we could find a spot for this guy somewhere, even if it's just special teams. Doesn't matter. Just find
especially a guy that can contribute on special teams right away. To me, that's a win. He's not, your starting edge, but maybe he is 2 years from now. That's a dude that if you can put him in there, and especially the way that they do the kickoffs now, you might want to run some special plays. You need these big, talented guys on your special teams lines, because we all know we lost to the Green Bay by a block freaking field goal. Sorry, we'll throw an F-bomb there.
Atmas says if Cunningham gets that Jags job, we would get the 3rd round pick. Would you take that 3rd and what we have and trade up into the 2nd? I don't know exactly what he means by what we have. I'm assuming he means like a 3rd.
Are you saying? Hold on, I got the draft picks here. Hold on, I'll put the draft picks up.
Well, we would get a 3rd this year and a 3rd next year, also. By the way.
Oh, so maybe he's talking about taking both those picks and trading up.
Yeah, I was going to say maybe he's talking about both 3rds and then moving it over. Explain it really quick.
If it's
2/3.
Yeah.
So he's talking about probably the 3rd round pick we have this year already, and then the 3rd pick we get for Ian Cunningham, and trading those 2 back into the 2nd round. I guess it depends what you're trading for, Ant Mass. If you absolutely love a player there and you don't think he's going to make it into the 3rd round, I'm not opposed to Ryan Poles trading in the draft a little bit. I'm not even opposed to him trading up and losing a couple draft picks, but you remember the Bears have 34 players under contract going next season. That is the least of any team in the NFL. What the Bears need is quantity over quality, at least for one more year. Now, guys, after this draft class and this free agency class, once they come into next season and they're pretty much standard with the rest of the NFL and players under contract, then you'd start to really like to see them sign like one major free agent that's a blue chip player instead of signing 5 or 6 guys that are relatively cheap.
Kind of like some other teams,
I want to see the free agent names on the offensive line. That's where.
But in his defense, Ryan Poles' defense, guys, we're talking about a team here that he has literally gotten rid of the entire Ryan Pace roster, excluding Jalen Johnson and Cole Kmet. Every single one of those players, with Tevin Jenkins leaving, is now gone. They're all gone now. That is quite the haul, man. I don't think I've ever seen that big of a turnover in NFL history, at least not in recent memory. But yeah, the Bears they're still on the. I think this you consider this the last year of the rebuild. They went and got their quarterback and their wide receiver last year. They went and got their coach this year. This to me is the last year of the rebuild. This is where the Bears really need to start adding blue chip quality talent around 100%. Their future franchise quarterback. Now is the time, and especially when it comes to that offensive line, right, guys? I do not want to see the Bears do what they did last year and sign 4 offensive linemen who wouldn't be starting on any other team in the NFL. You cannot get Caleb Williams sacked 68 times this year. And real quick, not to cut you guys off, but we have hit a new high for viewership on Wednesday night show. It's 62 watching via X, Facebook, YouTube. We appreciate you guys. Thank you so much. Please, if you guys haven't already, go over to our YouTube page and hit that subscribe button. Share us with your friends if you guys enjoy watching us. Sean, what else do you got? Anything else you got?
I got my deep sleeper of the draft, and I'm gonna do
defensive end.
It's a defensive end, and I'm going to try not to butcher his name because it's a tough one.
Sean, you might as well just butcher names at this point, man. I think you've said that.
I'm going to try my hardest. It's Olawafemi Aladeju.
God bless you.
He's the 225th ranked player in this draft, ranked 20th at his position. He has 45 college games and 1,937 snaps. He is one of the most underrated edge rushers in the 2025 draft. He just came off having a sensational Senior Bowl where he has raised his stock. Scouts are saying that he could be this year's Jalix Hunt. He's still raw due to not playing the position for very long because he is a former linebacker that now plays on the ball. He's one of the cooler stories in the 2025 draft. He had 57 tackles, 14 tackles for loss, and 4.5 sacks in 2024. They're saying he's just scratching the surface of the ceiling as a pass rusher. He's a converted off the ball linebacker. He's made a full-time transition to edge in 2024. While his inexperience shows at times, he has raw traits that jump off the tape. He's got great size, length, and burst. He's going to be a real problem in the NFL for offensive tackles. So this is a guy you just, 5th, 6th round. What are we sitting at in that? We got pick 194 and pick 233. You know, maybe that's a guy you look right there and say, hey, we'll take a chance on this guy. Now that we have a couple of defensive line coaches here now that know how to develop players, I feel a lot better about taking some of these raw players that can be molded with their traits that they have. So,
and especially depending on how the earlier part of your draft goes. You know, I mean, we don't know what their draft board looks like. We don't even know if they really have a draft board right now. They're probably still working on it. I did hear they did re-sign 4 assistant coaches from the last staff, 2 offensive and 2 defensive. A couple of guys that I think did a decent enough job, but we'll see if they were retained to kind of help evaluate staff and what their growth and progress is. But I don't mind taking a runner on a guy, especially. If you somehow fall into a blue chip guy at 10 that you weren't expecting to somehow fall to you because maybe Tennessee trades out of the first pick and now somebody else Cleveland moved up for a quarterback. Who the hell knows what's going to happen in the draft? Something funky always happens. And then all of a sudden you got a blue chip guy that, oh yeah, I didn't get my tackle. I didn't get my defensive end. You're going to do that in the second round. Now in the third round, if we do have the 2 third picks, you might want to maybe settle or maybe didn't get your edge rusher that you wanted. I'm all for trying to find one of those just elite athlete guys in the 6th round.
Yeah, guys. I mean, if the Bears made that trade or they let Cunningham go to the Jaguars and they got those 2 third-round picks, those compensatory picks, would you guys be upset at all if with the Bears 9 draft picks they drafted 4 offensive linemen, 4 defensive linemen, and a running back? I mean,
no.
Listen,
we don't need DBs. We don't need linebackers.
Keep throwing stuff at the problem until you fix it. Like, just keep throwing stuff at the problem.
It's better than throwing money at the problem.
Yeah, exactly. And you know what? If at least if you were like, oh well, our first 3 offensive linemen we took were good enough. We really didn't need this 4th guy. At least now you've got depth, right? At least the Bears sustained more injuries than the offensive line than the other team in the NFL last year. I think at the end of the year, Sean, what was it? They had 47 different offensive line combinations.
Yeah, it was a lot.
That's another thing that cannot happen this year. You cannot. That cannot happen this year.
But that's also why I'm trying to preach versatility, guys, because you want guys that can play multiple positions.
Yeah, I agree, Jason. That's why I don't think Ryan Bates is going anywhere because I think he could be a good backup guard or center. Right?
I think Broski Bear brought up the fact earlier that we're all high on Dahlman, and last year was his least injury-prone season of his entire NFL career. So he comes with a little baggage of missing time as well.
Yeah, but you know what, guys? When we're talking about the offensive line, that's pretty much the standard in the NFL now. They're each going to get hurt at some point in the season. I mean, you guys, the last time the Bears had all 5 offensive linemen through the entire season was 2009.
Yeah,
it's very rare feat that all 5 of your offensive linemen stay healthy. I mean, even in that Super Bowl alone, the Eagles lost Becton for 2 drives there, and they had to bring somebody else in to fill the position. I mean, this stuff happens, man. These guys are the one that when you get those huge bodies slamming into each other, especially with that tush push, man. I'm surprised more guys don't get hurt on that tush push.
Hey, really quick, I gotta double check. Who? Hold on. I'm gonna play something. I can't remember who won the Super Bowl.
Let me hear you all say E-L-G-L-E-S, Eagles. Let's go, Birds.
Oh God! I'm sorry. I just love that clip.
Did the people around her just start chanting the same letters?
I think so. They did.
They just ran with it.
Oh, you gotta love Philadelphia.
Oh
man!
Now you know why they turned down their own city. They probably didn't even know they were in Philly.
Hey guys, I have to send a shout out to the Twitter community, guys. Right now, we got a lot of you guys in the building. We really, really appreciate you guys showing in.
Thank you guys.
If you guys like what we're saying, you guys want to hear more of us, we'll be back on Thursday. Hop over to our YouTube page, hit that like and subscribe. We don't know what happened today with the alerts, but they'll be back next show, which will be tomorrow night for Dustin and Brandon on the bare minimum. And then Saturday, Kyle and I will be having a special guest with us, re-debuting the Northside 9 with Cubs writer Alex.
Guys, it's that time of year. It's time to start talking baseball here, guys.
It is.
Obviously, we're going to stay up to date with the Chicago Bears. We'll help everybody out through free agency, through the draft, the combine, all that stuff. But it looks like the Cubs are going to be a formidable opponent in Major League Baseball this year, and it's about time, man. Because this team the Cubs are one of those teams that should be competing for at least the playoffs every single year.
Are they going to break the 83 win mark?
I do believe if they can stay healthy.
What are you trying to say, Jay? What are you trying to say?
I mean, dude, you're supposed to be in the playoffs. I mean, this was supposed to be a team.
Yeah, you know why? You guys know why he's saying you're supposed to be in the playoffs? Because he's a White Sox fan.
I know. I was a White Sox fan. Fuck those guys. That team sucks.
You had to jump ship, dude. Right?
Yeah, I don't blame you, Jay. I would have jumped ship a long time ago. That team is just absolutely.
They may lose 100 games and be the most improved team in the Major League Baseball. That's how bad they are.
They could win 70 games and be the most improved team in all of baseball, dude.
Oh God,
it's brutal over there.
And stay tuned, guys. Also, because we're working on some other special guests that toss the pigskin around. We're just trying to make a couple connections and get some dates locked in, but it's going to be a couple of weeks. But we're going to be busting out a couple of surprises.
There will be some celebrities on this 4-Star Chicago Sports podcast here coming up pretty soon. We've already got a couple people lined up.
Breakdown analysis and guys you never heard of before, right?
Yeah, and then you always got PT57, the biggest celeb of the bunch.
Always
the coolest turtle.
Hey, and the Twitter community, again, if you guys like, please head over to the page, hit that like and subscribe. We're going to hit the road. Check out Dustin and Brandon tomorrow on the bare minimum.
Yeah, and you guys, for all those who you've been listening for the last few weeks, guys, we've now done the free agency and draft classes for running backs, offensive linemen, and for defensive ends. Next week, we'll bring you guys the defensive tackles coming up.
Big boys.
Defensive tackles next week.
And
absolutely.
We'll get the Bears holes. We'll go over the safeties. We'll go over the wide receivers because we know the Bears are probably going to be looking for a number 3 wide receiver and probably another safety just to back up Jaquan Brisker at the bare minimum. Just back him up because obviously
and then the combine.
It's a concussion issue. Yep. Yeah. We'll lay all this stuff down for you guys.
And everyone in the chat, you guys
certified badass.
That's right.
Certified
Thank you guys.
Badass.
Oops, I forgot to turn it off.
Yeah, real quick, man. Turd Ferguson, thanks a lot. Breaking news: Bruce, Aunt Mass, Elizabeth, T, Broski Bear, Brandon, James Kelfer. Who am I missing here, guys? Help me out. Daniel Jeffries, James, K9. We appreciate you joining us. Sorry about the confusion from the show.
You mentioned James.
James Kelfer. We'll see him on Saturday for the baseball show. Hell yeah.
Yeah. Thank you so much to all you guys. Darius Trax joined in today, guys. Also, Philip joined us today, guys. Also, if you guys want to keep talking Bears, Sean is going to be on the Chicago Sports Podcast tonight with Matt, the All-American DJ Matt Cooper.
That's right.
Breaking down some of these trade rumors going on in the NFL involving the Bears. We appreciate you all.
CSP in a while, but I'm back for tonight anyways.
Yeah, and then Sean, you want to
I'm going up right. I'm moving it up right now.
I'm going to look for that W and rap in the subtitles.
Anything you want to get out there before you wrap up?
Shit, fuck Green Bay.
All right.
Fuck yeah.
All right. Let's go.
Fuck yeah.
Yeah,
I don't like the guys wearing a dunce hat.
Those guys are goofballs, man. That's a Barstool, dude. They're awesome, though. I really love them. And we're going to just continue to follow in Tyson Bagents.
Too much about it. I was too busy grinding my absolute face off in the offseason.
We're going to keep grinding for you guys, and we appreciate y'all. Love y'all. Bear down. Don't forget, tomorrow, bare minimum with Dustin and Brandon. Saturday, Kyle and I will be back with Alex Pat, a Cubs writer, breaking down the 2025 season. Until then, we love y'all. Peace and good night, and bear down, everybody.
Bear down.
Bear down, boys. Bear down.